Hello, everyone. This is Dr.KatherineT.Kelly, and I'm flashing my little eclipse shades here. Happy Eclipse Day. This is really a cool day to be doing this announcement and this timeline of things to come for Soul Health. You know, I was actually supposed to be traveling to Cleveland, Ohio to see the eclipse. And as the weekend came, and I was really, as I was watching kind of the forecast, and as I was kind of tapping into my own energy and realizing how exhausted I was, I realized it probably was not the best idea. However, I woke up on Thursday morning and at 3 or 4 in the morning, I think it was about 4 in the morning. And, you know, a lot of times that's when spirit talks to me. And I remember turning over on my left side and hearing it's better to be the eclipse than see the eclipse. And spirit tends to talk to me in riddles or it tends to talk to me in messages like that. And when I was laying there, I was thinking, okay, so I'm not really sure what being the eclipse meant to them, but what I know that it meant was that it probably was not a good idea for me to go. So I canceled all of my plans. Luckily, I had a refundable ticket. Um, and I have no regrets actually, because now the forecast is looking a little sketchy for whether or not the visibility would be great up there. It certainly is not great here so far. It's cloudy today. I know that parts of the swath of where the eclipse are supposed to be visible are really going to be under storms, pretty heavy storms, or under clouds. It's like right smack in the middle of the country that they have the best chance to see anything. So um, the thing about being the eclipse versus seeing the eclipse is really an interesting concept to me, because energetically I'm very sensitive. I'm going to put these on my head because it's a nice place for me to lay these things. Um, Being eclipse means absorbing the energies, and really what eclipse energy is about transformation. It's about change. It's about watching things move out. So everything that needs to move out of your life can move out as you watch a new dawn or a new energy move in. So this afternoon, I plan to be doing nothing but meditating during that time, pulling in those energies, staying very grounded with those energies, and being very present in general, because there is a lot happening for soul health, which I'm about to share with you. And, you know, I hope you listen, because there's a lot that's going to happen. And for those of you who really want to integrate more soulful living into your life, I'm hopefully going to provide you with lots and lots of ways and tools to do that. So I'm going to recap a little bit by talking about my soul health model and how it got started in the first place. So way, way, way back when I left the medical center as a professor and I went into private practice, and then I started to have that sense that I was supposed to create a holistic health center, I created this center that I called Branches Holistic Health and Wellness. And one of the employees there, the massage therapist at the time, she drew this tree for me, and I just love the tree. I love trees anyway. This is a willow. Willows, you know, they may look kind of sad and heavy, but willows are one of the most resilient types of trees because they go with the flow. They flow through things, so their branches are very pliable, so that they actually withstand a whole lot of storms of life. And so at the time, I really thought that that was going to be one of the best depictions of what I wanted to bring out to the world, because trees are such an important part of my life. And so we started out with the willow. Again, I love that image, and I will always remember that image. And then it turned into basically the soul health model. So I'm going to show you this for those of you who aren't familiar, although many of you are. It turned into what I now call the soul health model. I have used this for probably 18 years. And my graphics person nailed it when I asked her to kind of create some movement, create something that helps sustain the rest of the branches of the human condition. So this is where the hands came in. And so I have used this for a very, very long time. And it was actually the first book that I published really came from wanting to help people understand how it is that they can use this model to rebuild their life, to basically create a new path for themselves, and also evaluate what's working and not working in their lives. So this model has been a very big part of my life for a very long time. And as I mentioned, there are 3 books that, and I'm going to talk about the book series in just a minute. But there are 3 books that have come under the Soul Health series of books. And I have another series that I'm going to talk about in just a minute, because the first book of the Soul of Psychology series is coming out in just a few weeks. So I want people to understand that. But this model has become near and dear to me for so many reasons, because really these 10 branches of the human condition, every single human on this planet deals with one or more of these throughout their lifetime. And, I use this metaphorically for so many things. I tell people, if I were ever to get a tattoo, it'd probably be of this, because it's the only image I would never get tired of, because it to me is so much about both our healing and our evolution. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the original book series, because this is going to help you kind of lay the groundwork for what's coming. So the first book in the Soul Health series was Soul Health: Aligning with Spirit for Radiant Living. And the first edition came out in 2013. I put out a second edition in 2018, added the whole element of self-love and how we need to understand how love and self-love play such a huge part in our soul's health and also our healing from the human condition. So we have to understand love in a healthy way in order for this to really come together. And on the back of the book is another image of basically, again, showing how self-love and love are such a part of our healing. So more and more information coming out on that too, that I'm going to be sharing with you. But that was the first book of the Soul Health series. The second book is Recipe for Radiance: Mastering the Art and Soul of Self-Care. So this book is really about helping you take that model and then creating a lifelong, and I say lifelong for a reason, lifelong plan for self-care. Because most people have a very difficult time identifying what it is that self-care is for them. But what I want people to understand is that it is soul care that we are looking for. So there are self-care activities that are very good for our body, very good for our mind, and good for our soul in some ways. But it's really about understanding yourself from such a deep level that you know specifically for the essence of your soul what you need in order to take care of yourself, both from a human condition and a soul condition. So it's a short little book, it's a brief little book, but it's actually packed with information about how to create that soul care plan for you, which is sustainable throughout the rest of your life. The third book in the Soul Health series is basically one I published 2 years ago. It's called The Healer's Path to Post-COVID Recovery. And this book is basically a restorative guide for healthcare workers to rebuild and restore themselves after COVID. Now, granted, COVID's not over necessarily, but the heart of it, the worst part of it, is hopefully over. The challenge is most healthcare providers and their families really went to work about getting their lives back together, not necessarily healing themselves from that deepest level. And I am already hearing a lot of healthcare providers saying, wow, I am just now appreciating how the pandemic really harmed me or how it really changed me. So that's why I wanted the book out early enough, because most people, when they go through a traumatic event, they don't really want to do anything but get back to normal. And so a few years later is when they become ready to deal with the deeper stuff. So this book is really coming in handy for a lot of providers and their families right now to rebuild. Those are the first three books that I've published. I have this next one coming out, and I'm going to share that in just a minute, because that comes from a whole different series. But I want to kind of share this exciting news about the Soul Health series, because I actually have some other books that are coming out in the next few years that are going to help you understand even more about the soul from kind of a holistic perspective. So one of the aspects that I want to share is the whole idea of soul age. Now, we all know the idea of an old soul. Oh gosh, this person's an old soul. They're beyond their years of maturity. They seem to have a lot of wisdom. But if there's an old soul, there are younger souls. And one of the things I did years ago was I created what I call the soul age spectrum. And I created this, basically, there's 10 different steps, basically, of understanding how a person or a soul goes from an infant soul all the way up to an ancient soul. So we have people in our lives that are very young souls. We don't feel like they're very mature. We don't feel like they're very wise. But it's really helpful to understand where they're at on that spectrum, because it helps us understand how to interact. Same thing with the wisest souls. Sometimes they're the ones that we're completely confused by. So I go all the way up to the ancient soul and help people understand, wow, when there is an ancient soul in your realm, then you kind of have to interact with them differently too. How is it that that makes a difference in our day-to-day life? Well, Soul age has such a huge impact on how we see the world, how we cope with the world, how we evolve, how we heal. And really, I help people understand that there's a virtue or a theme that is very present for each one of those soul ages. There's a milestone to basically overcome to get past to that next level. Then there's a challenge that they generally experience. And then there's a description within that spectrum that helps people understand just a brief description of how that soul kind of sees the world and experiences the world and how we experience them. The reason I'm sharing all of that is that one of the books in my Soul Health series is going to be about soul age. Now, I started writing this book several years, about 5 years ago, and I'm going to finish this in probably the next 2 to 3 years. But I wanted people to know that we have that book coming out for the Soul Health series. We also have some information about, and I can't wait to put this one out there. It's like a day-by-day guide to how to integrate the soul into your life in a much more practical and just a logical perspective. So just a one-page kind of refresher every day to help you integrate. So that's a day-by-day soul kind of book. There's also a book of basically how to live more soulfully throughout the year. That's going to come out in the next several years. So I'm just laying the groundwork for what is coming because this is very fun and exciting for me. And because this is a day for me to talk about everything that is coming out as far as my own astrological perspective, it's important for me to get this information out there to you today. So it's basically a launch to launch. So the next series, the next book series, and like I said, we've got a book coming out in the very near future, and it is called the Soul of Psychology series. And basically what I'm doing is I'm taking individual mental health concerns and I'm isolating them from a body, mind, and soul perspective to help the world understand that there's a lot to know from a soul perspective in terms of healing each and every one of those conditions. So this is the tree that my book designer created for that series. I'm very excited about this one as well, talking about the body, the mind, and the soul, how they're integrated, how it's all part of that same soul's experience on this planet. And I'm going through those individual mental health concerns. So the first book that's coming out on May 1st of 2024 is Anxiety, Treating Body, Mind, and Soul. This one's coming out in the very, very near future. The next one will be coming out this fall, probably September, and is Depression, Treating Body, Mind, and Soul. So I'm very excited that I have all of these book covers done already. The third one is PTSD, Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder, and that is Treating Body, Mind, and Soul as well. And then the fourth one is Grief, Treating Body, Mind, and Soul. Now, there are different concepts that I talk to clients about that most therapists and practitioners don't really understand or don't know about because they're not taught about the soul. They're not taught about how to treat from the soul's perspective. So I'm very excited about getting these books out to the world. Now, as far as the anxiety book, I've had many, many really beautiful and wonderful endorsements about that book already. And so I'm going to be sharing those over the next few weeks to help you understand more and more about what these books are about. Very excited about those. And then the next thing I want to share is information about the Soul Health certifications. Those certifications came from a comment I received from a practitioner way probably 8 or 9 years ago when I was doing continuing education workshops across the country. And somewhere in the Midwest, this one comes up to me in between the sessions, and she says to me, have you ever considered creating a soul health certification for practitioners? Because we don't have a model like this. And that kind of stuck in my brain. So one of the things that I feel like is really important now is to start getting this information out to the world. So I created what I'm calling the Soul Health Scholars Certification Programs. This is an initial image that we'll be using to get the information out there. And basically, it's going to include 4 different levels of certifications. And the reason for that is that there's more and more information that you would integrate in each level, but you really have to have a firm understanding and almost an experiential understanding of what each one of those means in order for you to be able to teach it or use it with others. So here are the 4 levels. We have the first level, which is the Soul Health Scholars. We have the Advanced Soul Health Scholars. We have the Master's level, and then we have the Sage level. And basically, each one of those is going to broaden and deepen the understanding of the soul so that as you work with others, either as a practitioner, a coach, an educator, or an administrator, that you would know how this looks as far as treating and helping people in the future. This is just another depiction of that model. I love the timeline. I love the clock version of this, and also the spiral, which has long been known as a spiritual evolutionary model or image. Is that whole idea of the spiral and ascension and evolution in general. So this is just another depiction of how these certifications are going to help you evolve into a better practitioner or coach or educator. So lots and lots coming out during the summer. So I'm going to be having several different video series release as well. One is Soul 101, which is basically taking everything from a very basic understanding of the soul all the way to very advanced ideas about the soul, including some of the things we've already talked about here. But it's basically helping people know how to integrate the soul and understand the soul from a very practical and experiential perspective throughout the rest of their lives, because we've got to bring the soul back to life as far as I'm concerned. So many video series, the Soul 101, the Soul of Psychology with these books. There's going to be many videos that come out with those. I also have more about Soul Age coming out. I have the Soul of Healing, which is another series bringing different ideas of different practitioners or different modalities that could very much help you with your soul healing. That's in the works. And so that all of those will kind of start this summer. Those video series will start this summer, and they will work into the fall when I'm going to start offering some short webinars on some of these soul health topics. So look in the future. So in the next 4 to 5 months, you're going to really start to see more information about videos, and you're also going to start to see more webinars coming out. So for those of you who want to follow me on YouTube, find me on my YouTube page. It's Dr.KatherineT.Kelly.com. Dr.KatherineT.Kelly on the YouTube page. You can go to my website, which is Dr.KatherineT.Kelly.com, and find my little icon for any of the social media platforms that I'm on. I want to talk a little bit about the models that are coming out, because these models, wow, there was so much that transpired over the last several months, probably from about October on. So many models. I have 3 new models that are coming out. I showed this model of the Soul Health model just a few minutes ago, and this has been a staple of my life for, like I said, about 18 years. And yet what I realized is that I needed to expand the model to add some layers, to add some understanding of how these different layers of who we are impact us. So the overall model has been expanded to not only add these different aspects, these additional dots or symbols, which if you see, they are symbols, and they correspond with the different factors that are involved. And then also the soul condition. I added the root system to this model to help people understand the depth of the soul and how it feeds and interacts with us on a human condition basis every single day and in every way possible. So what I did was, I'm going to show you the bigger version. I added these symbols to help you understand that there are different things that impact us from a human condition perspective. So I'm just going to read some of these to you. Obviously trauma. If someone has experienced trauma of any sort, it is going to affect the branches of your human condition and how you see and experience the world. Gender aspects. So in other words, if you are a male or a female, that is going to influence you differently with how you've been enculturated with gender kinds of aspects. Societal norms, genetic impact. I have generational mindset. I have how natural disasters affect us, epigenetic imprint, like all of these different things. And also I have on here the capacity for love and self-love, as well as bioenergetic field. Now, these are concepts that people don't realize really influence how we experience the human condition, but they are such important components. And I added them to the model because I think it is important for us all to realize that there are these layers to us. And so practitioners and coaches and healthcare providers are all going to understand all of this even more when they do the certification programs. But you as the public, you as the individuals that are going to be seeing these models every day, are going to get more and more information about what all these different factors mean. Now, the soul factors, the soul condition, which is the root system. I'm talking a lot about life lessons and life purpose and soul age, which is what I talked about, with the soul age spectrum, astrological personality, planetary influences, how past life trauma plays a part, or soul injury plays a part, our soul composition. In other words, how our soul was created. Now, I know that's a foreign concept for a lot of people, but our soul was created with certain ingredients or golden divine gifts that lace us for who we are. And if we live aligned with that, we feel pretty good. But if we live misaligned with that, or circumstances don't allow us to align with that, that's going to feel pretty bad. So I'm going to talk about starseed history and soul matrix and soul mastery, all of those things. And that's where it is that we are very complicated people. But on the other hand, understanding those different factors really helps us extend and deepen our understanding of both healing and also evolution. I'm going to talk about two other models real quickly. The other model here is the soul informed care model. Now, about 15, 20 years ago, there was a model that came out called the trauma informed care model. And its premise was basically that we have to start thinking about how a person experiences life if they have experienced trauma as well, because they are going to have a different experience and they're going to have different reactions. What I realized last year when I was writing that first book in the Soul of Psychology series is that I needed to create an image that helped people understand that we have to look at this from a soul-informed care perspective, that there are soul aspects, many of those things from the soul condition that I just mentioned, that influence who we are on a regular basis. And if we don't attend to those, then we're missing some major aspects of who we are, because if we only treat the body and the mind, we are leaving out the biggest aspect of who we are, and that's no longer okay. We can no longer do that. The last model I want to share out there with the world, and I'm going to get more information in longer form in the future, but I really wanted to put this out there for those of you who want to see what's coming. But it's called the 3 levels of healing. Now, we can do healing from an intellectual level. In other words, we have to understand what it was that caused our concerns. We have to put 2 and 2 together. We have to connect dots in order for us to go, oh, okay, that's what caused that. There's a level of healing that happens with that. The next level, though, is that then we have to take care of the emotional perspective. Whatever emotions we hold because of those wounds, whatever emotions we hold because we don't know how to release them, or we haven't been allowed to release them, or we've been dismissed in releasing them. So we have to do some emotional healing as well. But the deepest part of healing is the soul healing, because it basically encompasses every aspect from the intellectual to the emotional to definitely to the soul level. If there is an energetic imprint left on our soul from woundedness, then basically we are going to have a difficult time feeling like we are whole beings, because there's going to be a fracture or a fragment, or there's going to be an imprint left on us. It's kind of like a bruise on our soul that we will trip over, we will react to every time something happens that reminds us of those old wounds. So this 3 levels of healing is another model I'm going to be bringing out to the world to help you really understand the aspects of us that need to be focused on and appreciated as we move into the world for our healing purposes as well as our soul's evolution purposes. So this sounds like a lot of information, and it is a lot of information, but I'm going to make it very tangible for you. I'm going to make it very usable and manageable for you to understand and integrate in very, very practical ways. And that's really where I want to bring this information is, sacred wisdom or sage wisdom for the practical soul. The modern soul has so much complexity, but if we can break it down and help people understand all these different pieces and parts and how they fit together, then we know how to both heal and evolve. So that's really what I'm about. And that's really what this is, this video is about, is to share with you what's happening. So I'm going to recap this very quickly. So the first book, the first offering that's coming is basically May 1st, 2024. That is Anxiety, Treating Body, Mind, and Soul. That's the first book in the Soul of Psychology series. After that, there will be several videos coming out throughout the summer that fit into one of those major categories of those different video series. Fall of this year, September, is probably going to be the launch for the second book, Depression, Treating Body, Mind, and Soul. I always say that universe is going to lead how it leads, but I think this is going to be pretty close to the times that these will come out. October, November, you will see more videos. You'll see more, you'll see some offerings for webinars coming out that will help get you ready for the Soul Health Scholar certifications that will come out in February. Now, again, lots happening between now and then, but those certifications, that very first level will start sometime at the end of February. So probably 27th, 28th of February, it will launch. And you will get information ahead of time so you can sign up. Then, May 1st of next year, the third book in the Soul of Psychology series comes. That is the PTSD Treating Body, Mind, and Soul book. More certification work, more webinars, more videos. And then November 1st of 2025, you will then have the fourth book in the series, which is Grief, Treating Body, Mind, and Soul. And in that book, I'm going to be talking a lot more about karmic grief, which is very different than human grief. So lots of different concepts that I'm going to bring out to the world for you. This goes into 2026. Then there are more books for the Soul of Psychology series, more soul health books are coming out. So I wanted to lay this out there for you. I know it's a lot of information, and I know I have a ton of energy going in me right now to put this information out to the world. But I also think it's super important that we think about the future of the soul and how we integrate it into our lives. Now, again, this is eclipse day. So, if you are in the path of the eclipse, I really hope that you have visibility so you can use your fancy, not so fashionable glasses and, get out there, see this transformational activity. If you are not in the path, please still take care of yourselves, take care of your eyes first and foremost. But basically, just go within a little bit today and harness that energy for where your life is taking you, because this is a very important time to put our energy into the world and where we want to go and what we want to create in our lives. So more information, go to www.DrKatherineT.Kelly.com if you want to sign up for my newsletter, if you aren't already on it. You also have tons of information on there. You will get lots of more information about both the books and the Soul Health Scholar certifications. My videos are on there. You can grab all that information. If you want to have more information, also go to my other social media channels and see what you can do. I do a little bit of different posting on different sources, so feel free to join us on those too. But most of all, thank you so much for letting me join you on your soul health journey. I'm sending light and love to you, and I'm very, very, very excited about bringing a lot more soul health to the world for you. Take care. Bye-bye.